Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nehimiya Tadesse. Some of you guys may know me. I'm 18 years old, and just a week ago, I finished my international bachelor journey. I'm here today to present a different perspective on healing the world. When we think about a messed up world, we usually think about pollution, deforestation, inflation, conflict, and political instability. Now, I have a question for everyone. While all of those issues matter, most of us as individuals feel powerless against them. Raise of hands, who generally thinks they can individually solve global warming? Okay, no one. Now, who thinks they can solve inflation as an individual? Okay, but let me ask you something different. If two people were entering this auditorium and break out into a fight, who would jump in and try to solve that conflict? Especially as Habashas. Yeah, a lot of people. We might not influence the world globally, but we influence it locally every single day. And maybe that's where healing the world actually begins. Healing the world is not always about government, money, policies, technology. Sometimes it starts with perception, reality, understanding other people, thinking before we speak, visualizing someone's external life, internal life, before we actually get to know them. Within seconds, we subconsciously decide if someone is trustworthy, if someone is intelligent, if someone is dangerous, if someone is successful, if someone is strange, all before a single sentence is broken. If a man walks into this room with ragged clothes, not the best hair, we all just assume it's just another unsuccessful, yet still Ethiopian. But that's not the reality of everybody in this world. A lot of people just want to be themselves. A lot of people just want to express themselves as they are. They don't go and just play dress up for other people. They are who they are, and we don't have the time to speak about them or to speak to them. In psychology, this is called thin slicing. It's the brain's ability to make judgments without knowing someone. In other words, our brain loves shortcuts. It's seen in everyday world, actually. If you see a path with just a circular parabola, a lot of times we will see this thin, very flat, but rugged path across the road. That's when the brain loves to make shortcuts. We just naturally pick a way that's easier for our lives, either physically, emotionally, or mentally. Shortcuts are used also for survival, but it's dangerous when it's applied to human beings. Every person you pass is living a life just as emotionally and physically complex as your own. This, in other words, is called sonder. It's when you realize someone has a life as vivid, complex, just as your own. Sonder is actually a feeling. When you sonder, it means when you realize every person that's passing by, every person you bump into, every person you don't really see has issues of their own. They have successful stories of their own. They have parents, they have children, they have families of their own. It's not just you. Life story of a friend. This is actually very personal to me. I have this friend, my close family, you are gonna know him. He owns a gym. And in the past, he used to have dreadlocks, heavy dreadlocks. And we know that in Ethiopia, that's not really appreciated. We just visualize people with dreadlocks. There may be some financially unstable, maybe thugs or whatnot. But then this friend of mine, I remember him telling me a story. I remember him telling me about how whenever he used to take a minivan transport to Ethiopia, he used to see everybody clutch their pockets as soon as he gets in. I remember him telling me whenever he enters a bus, he remembers everybody clutching their pockets, so My friend with dreadlocks does not steal any of their items. And this was visual discrimination. This led to him altering something he really dearly adores. He ended up cutting off his dreadlocks because he just couldn't handle what the people and the society was doing to him. And that's why everybody should just sonder. People have their own lives as vivid and complex as everybody else's. You don't have to visually discriminate someone just because they have a different type of hair, a different hairstyle, just because they don't look like the best person to be in a room with. Every stranger has a life just as vivid as yours, just as complex as yours. Just because you're successful, just because you're not financially well, doesn't mean you're in the spotlight. Every single person in this room has a life. They can probably talk, and I'll probably hear them for hours on end. And as Habashas, we love to talk about this over coffee. This puts a lot of grief and a lot of pressure on loneliness, dreams. There's a lot of things a person has to hide, insecurities and more. We reduce people to moments, one appearance, one rumor, one mistake, one interaction. Just because we saw a 10-second clip on social media about a guy riding a bike and he fell off, we just assume he cannot ride a bike. When in reality, if you go check his page, or if you know him personally, he could be a motocross racing professional that's went to the champions. We never know. But that 10-second clip of him crashing influences how we perceive someone. I don't think that's right. That's where healing the world truly begins, how we perceive someone. In chess, this is very personal to me. In chess, younger players are often underestimated. A lot of young players are also the people that enter the field. I see 2-year-olds, 5-year-olds, all playing chess. Athletics. If a person is overweight, if a person looks nervous before a match, we just assume, they're not the best. Maybe we could beat them. That's not true. As an athletic person myself, I know not to judge someone based off their appearance. After multiple trials, it's not their visual appearance that determines me and how hard I'm going to play against them. It's their first movement, their first sentence that's broken out after I introduce myself. I realized that I was also very guilty of judging people too quickly. For all my historians in here or out there, there's an African American boy named Emmett Till. Does anyone know who that is? Emmett Till, yeah. So Emmett Till was an African American who was immensely racially discriminated just for whistling at a white lady. This was in 1955, so this was during the racial discrimination and segregation era. So all the false assumptions and prejudice led to his life surely being cut off. This led to violence and injustice. This led to uproars. This led to riots across the American country because it was just a group of young white boys that ended his life. I mean, this is a disclaimer. You can't search up his open casket funeral because his mom wanted everybody to see what the young boys did to him. But I do advise you that the images are quite horrendous. Just by perceiving someone, we become less patient, less empathic, less human. Just because a young African American, just because he's black, just because of the pigmentation in his skin, it resulted in the end of his life. This is not correct. We should be able to speak to someone, perceive someone before actually knowing, before actually acting out. Healing is built over time. It's like the Mona Lisa. For those artistic people out there, we all know the Mona Lisa took 13 to 14 years to build. But then we all go to Paris, the Louvre, and then we just appreciate the masterpiece. But then we don't realize each brushstroke it took to bring this painting to life. But that's also how healing the world begins. You can't just solve pollution. You can't just solve world hunger. It's all one step at a time to bring a masterpiece to life. For my mathematicians out there, for people that are not really on the artistic creative side, I could also refer to this analogy of a Mandelbrot set. So basically, it's a mathematical equation where a series of numbers, if you put 0, the line is going to be straight. But then even a 1 over time is going to build into something very exponential. So one way of viewing someone over a certain period is going to have great outcomes over time. Humans are like that too. First impressions are just surface level. The deeper you understand someone, the more complex you discover that person to be. No human being is simple as the first impression to them. Oh, I'm a football player. So what? I kick a ball. Okay, that's all you know about me. Just because of one short sentence in the beginning, you can't really judge someone. You can't really say you know them. You really have to dive deeper. You really have to sit down with them and talk about their perception. Even then, you do not know who they are. You do not know the fights they're fighting in the back. You don't know the struggles they're going through. Even their parents, their students, their families, they do not know what they're going through. Most of us in this room right now are either parents or students, and I can guarantee everyone here has something to hide, either from their parents or from their students or from their kids. I'm not saying you should open up. There are some things that you should really keep back. There's some things that really should be held reserved. But then I'm also trying to implicitly say you do not know someone truly. So you do not have the power, you do not have the energy to really say you know them. We cannot control inflation, pollution, economic conflicts, but we can control how we perceive the world and people. Every person you meet is a new life story, a new friend, a new person that's potentially either your best friend or your future wife or husband. You never know. The reason I shared the life story of my very dear friend is because it really links to healing the world. Just because of how society portrayed him, just because of how society was treating him, it led to the action of something he dearly loves being cut off, his dreadlocks. And his mother supports it, his father supports it, everybody supports it. I really love it. And the thing about him is, he's genuinely the kindest, the strongest person I know, mentally, physically, everything-wise. To make my point clear, we should not perceive someone just by looking at them. Appearance does not matter. I know you've heard this a million places and a million times. Don't judge a book by its cover. But I hope this speech helped you understand why you should not do that. I've been Nehimiya Tadesse. You've been a great audience. Thank you.